Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to present information on the Child Care Workforce Stabilization payments. This is an information session for you, and hopefully it will help you understand what you need to collect in order to complete the application, and some other information, helpful information about things to think about. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sheila Duranlo. I'm the Child Development Division Director of Programs. We also have with us today helping out Heather Madison, the Data Outreach Coordinator in the CDD, and Rachel Smith, an Administrative Coordinator. So thank you, Heather and Rachel, for joining us. As I said, the purpose of this presentation is to walk you through the application so you have an idea of what you'll need before you sit down to complete it. We'll also share some helpful tips and important dates and answer a couple of questions should we have time. I wanted to let you know the purpose behind this funding. The intent by the legislature is to stabilize and support the regulated child care and designated remote learning hub site workforce. The total payment per person will be determined by the number of staff who are eligible in the applications and the amount of funding that's available. It's also important to know that the legislature allocated these funds just a few weeks ago, and in order to comply with federal requirements, they must be spent by December 30th. So as you can see, we're under a very tight time frame. So it's really important to make sure that you understand the guidance in completing the application and complete it in an accurate way, because that will then facilitate the timely processing and accurate processing on our end. So I'm going to hand this over now to Heather, and she's going to walk us through the application.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Madison, as Sheila said, and I'm going to walk through the application. So the application is an online form, and the link is on our website. When you click on the link, you will get this information, which is much of what you'll see on the website. And then when you scroll down, you will be able to enter the different components we need. You'll see that it's a relatively simple application. So for program name, that's a required field. You'll want to put in the name that's in our Bright Futures information system. And you will want to enter your license number as we have it in Bright Futures information system. The application at this time will only accept one application per license number. So it's really important to make sure that you have a complete application before you hit submit, as you won't be able to submit again under that license number. You'll enter the town that you're located. That is a text field. Your federal business name, that is the name that you actually submit your taxes under. If it is not your name, if you're a registered provider, for most people that is their name, then you should have documentation from the IRS that indicates what that name is. It should match that IRS documentation. Then you will scroll down. You want to put in your business mailing address. This is where you receive items such as your 1099. If you receive any paper checks, this would be the address where you receive those checks. Again, all of these fields are required. For a zip code, it will only accept numbers and only 5 numbers. So I realize some people have an extension for their zip code, but it will only accept 5 numbers. And then for the contact person, if we have any questions or reviewers have any questions on your application, it is important to make sure that the person listed here is the person that's available by email or phone, so that we can get any questions we have answered very quickly. in your phone number. You will put in your email. One of the common mistakes that I see is that you might make a mistake in your email, and that means then you won't get a copy of what you submit because it'll go to whatever was put in. So make sure that your email is correct. Really easy to make a typo. I do it all the time in my email, so definitely make sure that that's correct. That way, when you submit, you will receive a copy of what you submitted. If you don't receive the copy and you're sure the email was correct, I encourage you to go in and look in your spam or junk folder in your email. Sometimes, especially for programs that might be submitting multiple applications in a relatively quick manner, they end up going into spam and you just need to pull them out of there. So the next question will actually determine what you see next. So it is asking for how many staff you're applying for. If you are applying for 5 or less staff, what you're going to get is a table, and you're going to just go ahead and enter the full name, the full legal name of your staff, and their date of birth. We really need it to be in the format of month, day, and then full year, and then their position title. And we are using position titles in the regulations. So if you can equate and put that position title in here, this will help our reviewers. If you instead have more than 5 staff and you enter let's say you had 10 staff, what you're going to get instead of that table is a way for you to attach a file. On our website, there is an Excel form, has those same fields as what was on our table, where it's the staff person's name, their date of birth, and their position title. And you're going to complete that Excel and upload it right here. It's a fairly straightforward process where you click on Browse File. It will open a window so that you can attach a file just like you're attaching to an email. And you want to attach that Excel document that we have available to you. After you have all of that complete, make sure to read the what you're attesting to. So you're going to agree to these aspects. And there is a signature field. If you're using a computer, laptop, you just need to click and use either your finger or your mouse to sign. It's okay that it's not pretty, as mine isn't. If you do have a touch screen, you can go ahead and just touch your screen and sign right there. And then you're going to hit submit. And see, when you don't have something that is required, what we will get is C errors. And so because I had changed my staff list to 10, but I hadn't uploaded a file, it won't let me to allow me to submit because I have that error. If I go back, what it will not do is if I say I have 2, but I accidentally only put one of the 2 people I want to enter, it won't stop you from submitting there. So it's really important to make sure that you have everybody listed before you hit submit and all of their information is listed. Also in your Excel form, go through your staff list. You know, if you're thinking you're going to potentially hire somebody or have substitutes, go through that information before you go ahead and fill this out. And then once you hit submit with no errors, it's going to give you a thank you, and then it will also email you a copy. So from this point, we're actually going to move to just some things to consider when you're thinking about your application.
Thank you, Heather. All of this information is on the website as well, and I've included the links here. The links are live in the application. So if you have any questions, you can just click the links in the application and it will bring you right to this information. But there are some things that we really wanted to go over today. Heather, talked about being really careful about making sure that the number of staff that you put in that field, and then the staff list have the exact same number. It's really important that, because if our reviewers have to reach out to a lot of providers and ask questions, then the time frame to close this is going to come, and some people are not going to be included. So it's really, really important, because of this tight time frame, that you submit an application that is correct. As of 10 o'clock last night, we had 24 duplicate applications. 24 programs had submitted duplicate applications. That's going to be very challenging as well. That's why we locked it down to only one application per license number, because again, if people send in duplicate applications, and if they have the same information or different information, that really increases the opportunity for human error on the processing side. So we want to be really careful that that we process these in a timely and accurate way, but we really do need your help in doing that and making sure that everything is complete and accurate before you submit it. These stabilization payments are a one-time payment to one person. So each person gets one payment, even if they work in multiple programs, and they must have provided in-person direct care to children at any point during September 1st to December 30th. And you might say, well, December 30th, that isn't even here yet. But if you know that if you have a confirmed hire between now and then, and you know that you will be hiring them, then it's okay to put them on the list. If they're not a confirmed hire and you don't know, then please don't put them on the list, because what will happen is we might have to recoup those payments from you, or you might try to send them back, and it's very difficult for us to take money back in this short time frame. There is a list of staff who are eligible, and that is a live link in the application as well. But again, the list, the staff must be one of the following positions as defined by regulation. So the director, the after-school administrator, the after-school program staff. I don't have to read all of those. I'm sure you're all familiar with those as well. What this opportunity is not for is it's not for a public school teacher in the pre-K education program. And again, one payment per person. So if you have a sub who works in, that works in multiple programs, it would be really helpful for you to talk to that person and say, is there one program that they identify with more, maybe because they work more hours, or maybe because they've worked there longer, and then have that substitute ask that program to apply on their behalf. We definitely want to make sure that they're included somewhere, but it would be more helpful to us in processing if they're not included in multiple programs. If they are included in multiple programs, we will take out duplicates, but again, that's just going to add to processing. So it would be very helpful for us if you would have that conversation with subs. If you have questions, there will be frequently asked questions. Heather has been working on questions that have already come in. Any questions that we have today that we don't get to, we'll put on the frequently asked questions. This is not a first come, first serve opportunity, so there is time. I mean, I know that it's the holidays and you're all very busy, probably working more hours than usual because of a decrease in staff. So I know that the time frame is short as well, but the deadline, it's not a competitive grant, and it's not first come, first serve. So there is time for you to take your time to look at the frequently asked questions. I think we will update them for the last time on the 23rd. Is that correct, Heather?
That is correct. We will update the frequently asked questions on the website on the 23rd, but accept questions through the email through the 25th.
Right. So you have time to watch the questions. If you have absolutely no questions and you know what staff you have and you feel comfortable filling it out now, absolutely you should, because we will start processing as we get them. If you still have questions after you've read the frequently asked questions, you please send your email to that email address on the screen instead of calling. Some people have called the commissioner's office and made some other phone calls. We know it can be confusing when you're reaching out to try to get some answers, but if you could send your answers to your questions to that email address, then we will make sure that we respond as quickly as possible. Applications are due at the close of the business day on November 29th, and the funds will be distributed to programs, within a week and a half or so after the applications close. So you can see it's a really, really tight turnaround. So we want to make sure that our application reviewers have everything that they need. Once you submit, it will be really helpful to watch your email, because if they have a question, they will reach out to you, but they're going to need you to respond right away, because again, we have to process these and get the funds out the door. So we don't want any applications sitting and pending, waiting for information when it's time to process, because I'm worried, because we won't be able to include those applications in the final distribution of funds. And then applicants, providers must distribute those payments to their staff before December 30th. And that's the federal requirement for these funds. And we don't have any flexibility in that. So I don't know, Heather or Rachel, do you have anything else that you think it's important for people to know?
I think we covered a lot of the things to consider. And I think Rachel at this point might have some questions that we received. I put an announcement into the event, but want to let everybody know that if your question is really specific to your situation, or we're not able to get to your question today, that please email. I see a lot of people are posting their questions anonymously, so I'm not able to follow back up directly with you. But if you can email the ahs.dcf.cdd.info@vermont.gov, we will get back to you. We have been returning emails within the day. So if you don't feel like your question is answered here, please email that email. And so, Rachel, do we have any questions?
Good afternoon, Heather and Sheila. I see in the chat box a question. If we have a teacher assistant starting in mid-December, should we include them, or is this optional?
That's a great question. And again, that goes towards the December 30th date for staff. So if they're a confirmed hire, if you're confident that they will be starting and they'll be on your payroll, then absolutely you should include them.
Excellent. Thank you, Sheila. Another question I see in the chat box, maybe for Heather, if she could go over that again. How do we attach the staff sheet for a licensed site? And I know you covered this in the presentation, but if you could one more time reiterate that spreadsheet that's available for people that have more than 5 employees.
Yes, absolutely. So when you go to the application, you will and enter your information. The question, you will get asked the question, how many staff are you submitting for? If you enter a number 6 or above, you will then have a box that pops up that says attachment, and you click into that box. It will browse your computer for the file. Definitely download the file off of our website, save it into your own files first. That way you have it definitely copied. I see that one submission might have had a blank because when you open it, it might open in your browser. So save it on your computer, type in your information, save it again. When you do your application, you put in 6 or more employees. If you have 6 or more employees, and it will pop up that option to actually attach the file, and then it will walk you through the steps to attach. If anybody has challenges with the application, email that email address and we will work with you on the application.
Excellent. Thanks, Heather. Another question that I think might have been answered, but if we could reiterate, if I have 2 sites, do I fill out the form for both sites?
Sure, I can take that. So our guidance right now is that you submit 1 application per licensed site. So you'll submit 1 for 1 site and another one for another site with a different license number. If that is a challenge, please email the email given and we can work through that.
Thanks, Heather. Maybe for Sheila, how much funding is there to be distributed?
Thank you for that question. I'm looking right now. We received an allocation of $4 million for this workforce stabilization program. And as we get closer to the end of the year, there is a possibility that some other federal programs had some underspend that we could ask the legislature to increase this program with. That has happened in a couple of other federal funding opportunities. So the bottom line is $4 million. There is a slim potential that if there is an underspend in any of the other federal programs that we may be allocated more.
Thank you, Sheila. Another question I see is maybe regarding this, is the amount going to be the same for each person, no matter the amount of hours worked?
Yes, that's a very good question. Yes, we are. The amount of each per person payment will be exactly the same. It doesn't matter if they're part-time or full-time. We will just be dividing the total amount of allocation that we have by the total amount of staff in all of the applications.
Great, thanks, Sheila. Maybe back to Heather. Is there a way to make an amendment to your application?
If you make a mistake on your application and you realize it when you get the copy, you can email the email that we have attached. We are potentially, depending on what it is, allowing for 1 amendment based on that email. So, however, we're not allowing for multiple amendments.
Can I just follow up with that as well? I do want to this is just for your information. We have 2 people who process these applications, and right now those 2 people are processing the anticipated expenses from the operational relief program, the ORG program that many of you may have applied for. So they are extremely busy. And so again, please, to the best of your ability, please make sure that your application is complete and accurate when you submit it.
Thanks again, Sheila. Another question I see in the question and answers, will there be any reporting requirements?
There are no reporting requirements for these payments.
Excellent. Let's see what else we have in the Q&A. If we have multiple subs that have only worked about an hour at a time period, do we have to put them on?
The choice to put people on the application sits completely with the employer, with the provider. That is, if they're eligible, then you can put them all on. If you choose for whatever reason to put some on and not others, then that is your choice.
And again, I think we're looking for clarification. If I have 10 staff members, would the lump sum payment be divided equally among the 10 staff?
They will all receive the same amount, yes, but the lump sum actually is going to be divided by all of the staff in all of the applications. So, but every single person who receives a payment will receive the same amount.
Okay, one more payment question. Do we distribute these funds to our staff through payroll, which means we would need to pay payroll taxes on it?
We'll defer that question to the frequently asked questions because we're still exploring that with our business office. And so we don't have an answer to that question at this time.
Great, thank you, Sheila. And one final question, perhaps, how many applicants are you anticipating?
Heather, do you want to talk about the numbers that we think we might get?
Sure. So applications are by program. So we do think there are approximately between 1,100 and 1,200 programs that potentially could be eligible. Of those programs, we do have some information about staff that might be eligible, and we do think it might be up to 8,000 individuals within the state, or maybe even a little bit more individuals in the state that potentially might be asked for a payment. That would be kind of the big numbers. It really depends on the applications, who's included, who's currently working, all of those things.
Great, and are these funds limited by previous grants applied for and received?
They are not. This is a separate opportunity.
Great, thank you, Sheila. I think a lot of the other questions I see in the question and answer chat box are things that probably should be deferred to the Q&A. So I think we're good.
Okay, well, it's 1:58, so we had a half an hour for this presentation. And I guess that will just conclude the presentation at this time. I want to thank you all very much for joining us, and I hope you all take the opportunity to apply for these funds to support and stabilize your workforce through this very, very challenging time. So thank you, Heather, and thank you, Rachel, and have a great afternoon, everybody.